everyone. My name's Ili. I've been a concept artist and illustrator for over 7 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, professionally in the games industry, and I'm gonna be sharing you guys how to bring characters to life and appealing character design. So yeah.
Okay. Can we, without, I'll just hand it over to you.
Okay. Okay. So a little story time. When I was a teenager, I was really obsessed with this game called Team Fortress 2. And I was really interested in how the characters look. Like, they really look stylized. They look nothing like any other game that I played before. And I found out that the person who concepted their character design was a guy named Moby Frankie. And you might know this guy. He is currently working at Theorycraft, I think. And previously, he's done work for Riot, so League of Legends, Valorant. And I was so obsessed with like this idea of becoming, oh, maybe I can have a job in the industry as an artist, because previously, like, an artist's job, is that just like doing galleries and stuff? No, I can totally do something like this. So yeah, here's my really old art, just to like ground things that I used to make art like this last time. So when we talk about appealing character design, maybe you're thinking about like, okay, maybe it's like a really sexy looking character, sex appeal and whatever, or they are very beautiful, but I feel like that's not the case. So you can have a totally like cute and fun character, and that's totally appealing with like so many general audiences and like kids. Or you can have something that invokes nostalgia in you. Like when I see this, I feel like I'm watching Saturday morning cartoons. And good design can really elevate the story that you want to tell. Like I want to design a vague, cartoony, Southeast Asian inspired world. And good character design is memorable. So, sometimes when you think like, oh, why is this Terrence so popular with so many people? I don't get it. He's just like some rogue with like white hair and he's an elf. But when you really want to dive deep into what really makes his design so great, it's all about what I'm going to be talking about later. So we're really going to dive deep into how we're going to, make characters look really great. So why do we design characters? Well, you could, if you're an artist, you could have a brief. You could be given a brief, or it has a function in whatever media you're going to make. So let's say you're making a hero shooter, competitive hero shooter. You need to know what the enemy team has in their roster. So you need to have like different kinds of characters that all look different and serve their own purposes. And character design can serve a story. So if you want to convey that, this protagonist is a exiled Jedi and he needs to, hide from like a bunch of really scary people with red lightsabers. Or you could just have something cool. You just want a character with a huge sword who can just swing it around because, you're making a roguelike. But how do we make them look good? How do we exactly like pinpoint what can we do to make them look good? So before we start doing our character design, like designing, we need to think of a few things. So if you're working on a project, what is the scope of the project? So let's say you're doing a game. What kind of game are you going to make? What kind of point of view is the character, is the player going to see? Is it going to be a first person? Is it going to be top down? So these are things that you need to consider when you design your characters for like clarity and readability. And who's your target audience? Let's say you're making games for anime fans. You need to go into the usual tropes that anime would usually have, or like how they would design their characters, what kind of hairstyles would they have. and then how important the character is to the story or to the game. So if you want to have like a main character, you can't have him blend with every other character behind in the whole story, because when you make each character look important, nobody is important. So these are some of the things that you might have to consider before. And then next we're going to go in design fundamentals. So as an artist that has been through the One Academy and so many multiple projects, like this has been drilled in my head for such a long time. And it is truly one of the pillars of good character design. And you can really apply this to anything. It doesn't really have to just be character design. It could be graphic design. It could be maybe storytelling, music. So, but in the perspective of like an artist, this is one of the pillars that we have to keep in mind. So another thing is that if you are, of course, doing art, you need to know your art fundamentals as well. So these are going to be things like anatomy. These are going to be things like form, perspective. So yeah, remember this. Reference is super important to whatever you're going to do. So if you want to make something like really believable, you need to, it needs to either exist or it needs to be like a combination of something that has existed before. So I like to sort of separate my thinking process as like internal references, so something that you innately know or you already know for a long time, such as personal tastes, your experiences, your personal experience being maybe a Southeast Asian person, and your visual library. So your visual library, this is something that most artists will know, but if you don't know what it really is, it's basically like a combination of all of your stored memories of like visual materials, so like things that you've seen, like maybe shows you've seen, maybe buildings you've seen, fashion you've seen. So we're gonna like pull out all of our memory from this entire visual library and like sort of use it in our designs. So if you want to create a character that is very sort of, he has like some elements to a certain culture, and that culture is not very like widely known. Only certain people would like know that, this character from this certain region would have henna in his like hands and feet, or this certain character would have like this style of clothing, like wearing batik and stuff. So these are like things that you sort of innately know yourself, and you can use it to your advantage when you're doing concept art. So the next would be external. So these are going to be things that maybe you don't know, maybe you know about it, but you still need that image reference to, maybe someone along the lines might have to like work on it as a 3D model, or somebody needs to understand like, okay, how does this fold work in real life? So it could be something like fashion, it could be something like archetypes. And speaking of archetypes, if we're going back to the gay robots, if you were here yesterday, when you're speaking about archetypes, who is the bumbling idiot of the group? Who is the heroic, the sacrificial hero? Who is the villain? So we need to kind of put all these sort of storytelling into our design to make it much more believable and much more elevated. And speaking about storytelling, another aspect I say is important would be storytelling. So how do we put storytelling in our designs? So you gotta think like, who is this character? What would they wear? What kind of person are they? Are they gonna be someone that is, having a 9 to 5 day job? Are they gonna be maybe he's like an ordinary guy who is somehow thrown into this spooky horror survival world, and he's looking for his missing wife. And the first thing you might probably think is this guy, all these guys, they're just wearing like the same kind of outfit, but it conveys the same like story. It's an ordinary guy looking for his wife. So, with that in mind, I'm going to show you how I kind of put all of this into my thought process while designing a character. So, I'm going to pretend that I'm working on a project. Like, this is very useful advice if you're trying to fill your portfolio for concept art or illustration. Pretend that you're working for a professional work, and then you can sort of like think, okay, if I'm doing this for someone else, I need to do turnarounds. I need to properly like do call outs and everything. So I have a brief here, but it's a very short brief. Your brief can be very long. This is going to be about my D&D character, and if you know about having D&D characters, your backstory is going to be like super, super long, so I'm not going to share everything, but here it is. Artemisia is a traveling undertaker from an anime, fantasy, steampunkish Mediterranean town. And she wields a collapsible spade as her main weapon, and along her journey, she gets attached to a ghostly girl. So when I was sort of pretending to have this as my project, I wanted it to be in like a 3D fantasy RPG, maybe something like Persona. And then I wanted my target audience to be, young adults, teenagers, fantasy fans. And a good like exercise that you can do to like know what you're gonna make is to find the keywords in the brief. So, the keywords: Undertaker, anime, fantasy, steampunk, collapsible spade, ghost girl. These are going to be things that I want to put into my design because they are unique to that character. Next, I'll be like finding references. So it doesn't just have to be, real life items. It can just be maybe it existed in a game prior, and you want to kind of know what mood you're going to go with or what that character archetype is going to look. So usually when you're thinking about, okay, maybe it might be a little bit spooky, it might be a little bit more like a Grim Reaper vibe, I want to go with something like maybe Bloodborne, maybe the Reaper class in Final Fantasy XIV. And then I have my real life references or derivatives of it. So there's gonna be like fashion. There's gonna be real items that I can understand how things work, and when I design it, it's gonna make a lot of sense. So next, I go into sketching. So if you're in a professional pipeline with your art director or your teammates, you're gonna have to maybe give them a few options to choose from. So every time I'm drawing an option, I'm thinking of making something completely different that maybe someone down the line would say, oh, I like the split down the middle on her jacket, or maybe I like the shape of her spade on like the last one. But well, to be honest, this took me like a while, and I was just I just came up with I just tried to come up with like the best option at the end. But there is a saying that your first option is never going to be the best one. So yeah, it's just something to keep in mind. And then I went into finalizing the front of view. So it's going to be like a lot of details in the front. And when I'm designing this, the character, I'm thinking back to like all the design fundamentals. I'm thinking back to like the intention I'm gonna put into creating this character. So I'm thinking, okay, flow. I need the lines of like her piping on her jacket to flow so that it points to her face. I need like this crescent logo to appear everywhere because I need to convey that, okay, maybe she is part of a group. She is like part of this faction with this crescent moon logo. So, and then if you're going to pass this along to maybe a 3D modeler, you're going to need to draw a back view. And if you have like areas of the character that are very hidden away, you could just you could just call it out and then explain clearly to your the people next in line to tell them, hey, the pants should look like this or the belt should look like this. And of course, like any other details that maybe it might be helpful to your team, you should always point it out. So like the emblem should look like this behind her hair. And then next, this is a little extra, but I think it's great. It's great practice. So if you're doing a prop, you're maybe gonna think, okay, maybe this prop will level up somehow, and you have to think like, okay, maybe how do I convey that it looks better than the previous version? So I'm thinking, okay, the silhouette has to be different. It has to be bigger, and maybe like there's more detailing. Maybe there's more like better material. Maybe now instead of having just a wooden handle, I have like sharp metal bits on my handle, and then I could maybe slam some guy's head with like the end of the stick. And silhouette just doesn't only apply to the object itself, but you can also apply this to like VFX. So, when you're looking at this, adding the VFX itself will really like make the entire look of this more, high leveled. And then I want to show that, okay, this is how the spade will collapse. So I'm telling maybe my animators or my riggers, okay, I want it to collapse like this. Could you try that? And then of course, any secondary props that you can't really see in the characters, call it out, and it will be very, very helpful in your design pipeline. So this is what the final look would be. If I put this in like let's say, a gacha game, it could totally work. And I didn't really show like the process of the ghost girl herself, but the TLDR is that she's basically just, I didn't really like design too much because I don't want her to overtake the main character in this design. So she's just a just a side character, just a sidekick to your main character. So, with that said, I'm going to recap like if my design really like called back to my brief. So, Undertaker, I'm giving her like a super long coat. Maybe she kind of looks like a Reaper. Anime fantasy aesthetic. I'm trying to do that by using sort of like line art, half cell shaded look, and it's not too much of an anime aesthetic because my personal taste is also mixed with Western comic design. Collapsible spade, that's one important thing. I have the collapsible spade. And the ghost girl. The ghost girl is just as important. So, to recap from what I just said, um, here you like remember the key factors into like designing a great character. So number one was know your project scope, your target audience, and character importance. Be mindful of design fundamentals because it's very, 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 very important. Always reference. This is also very, very, very important. And apply storytelling. So all of these factors are going to really, really elevate your character design even more. And that's it. Thank you so much. I know that was really fast.
Very early. Okay, sorry, 1 second. Yeah, apologies. I went to the washroom. So, does anyone here have? Do you take inquiries?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Does anyone want to ask anything? Okay.
Hi, Ili.
Hi.
Longtime fan, first time speaker. I followed your work for many years, and it's so inspiring to see how far you've gone from the Team Fortress 2 prints. I believe I have a copy somewhere in my house.
Oh, really?
God knows where. I don't know. It's horrible in there. But something that was very interesting that you actually brought up earlier was the brief, right?
Yes.
You pointed out that you pick out specific keywords within the brief in order to create the character. How do you determine which keywords are the most important? Because something that stuck out was, you highlighted Undertaker, you highlighted the anime fantasy kind of aesthetic, but you didn't highlight the Mediterranean town, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you figure out what's the most important key elements to creating the character?
So I would say that I have like a priority for how to visually showcase all of these points. So for me, it wasn't really mostly about where they came from because when I was designing it, she was a traveler, so she's gonna have traveling clothes. But when I was researching, okay, maybe the Mediterranean in I would say a steampunk era. In the context of that world, it didn't really have like a lot of cultural references. So it was basically okay, Western world, Western European world. So I mostly design her based off like okay, well I need to elevate the Undertaker vibe more, the aesthetic, because that's really like her most important point was that I need to show other people that okay, she looks kind of nice, but like she can be kind of scary sometimes. Yeah, so that's really like what I'm thinking. But of course, if you're getting like a professional brief, maybe there are already like points being given to you. Like okay, you need to make this character. I'm thinking. Okay, I'm thinking maybe Chai from Hi-Fi Rush. You need to make this character like any other, hack and slash RPG game, maybe like Sora. He has to have some kind of big weapon. He has to look fun. He has to look kind of approachable as a character. He's very fun to. You might see him as like a friend, and that's how you kind of approach it in that sense. Does that like answer your question?
Okay, does anyone have questions as well? Okay, here you go.
Hi, Lee.
Hi.
I wanted to ask, how do you know when to, because you're talking about design fundamentals, right?
Yeah.
So how do you know when to break like fundamentals for for the sake of having good character design? Like, for example, when would you decide to sort of play around with the proportions of a character, for example?
I mean, even proportion, like playing around proportion, there's no really set rule, but let's say what it's mostly based on like what you intend to design out of. So if you want maybe a very basic looking character, maybe your proportions are going to be like 50-50. It looks really boring. It's not very like, oh, when I see someone like dressing like half and half, you kind of think, okay, maybe they're not really thinking about like their silhouette and stuff. So it really comes, I feel like it really comes down to intention, how you're going to, present these characters as, interesting characters, and how important they play a role in that entire story or whatever.
Does anyone have any more questions? Oh, okay. I see three total, I guess. Tell you what, you can take. I'll come to you later, okay? Okay.
Hello. In your presentation earlier, you mentioned about, somewhat copying Sophie's question of the brief question, but I want to ask, as a person who doesn't do art,
Okay.
how do I give a good brief to my artist?
Okay. One tip I usually ask from clients is to send me like a character they like. So maybe let's say let's say you're making a Starion. Maybe you're making another like emo vampire bad boy or something, and he's kind of like he's kind of roguish. So maybe my client's thinking, oh, okay, I'll send Astarion. That's like one of the most popular characters. Or I'll send maybe like I don't know, Alucard. Alucard looks kind of like another vampire. So now when you already have these two like reference points, you're kind of getting the vibe that, okay, these are two vampires who kind of dress very regally. So I think that's what my art director or client is looking for. So that's kind of how you narrow down what they really want and what you really want as like a non-artist. Yes, just reference.
Okay, I'll pass it to the next person.
Oh, hey, thanks. Hi, also a big fan. Anyway, you brought up a talk about references during your talk, so I'd like to ask you as an artist, like, what are your favorite methods of getting research and references, and how far have you gone to actually get the references you want?
Okay, in a literal sense, how far I've gone is how far I've traveled. So, when I'm traveling, whenever I have the chance to travel, I'm always taking pictures. I'm always like in that mindset of, okay, this door looks kind of nice. Maybe I can put it in like, maybe I can design something like this. I can use it as a reference. Or maybe like some buildings are very cool looking. And other methods, if you can't really like go out too far, I would say that one of the best places is Pinterest. But even now, it's kind of littered with a lot of like AI images, which I really don't recommend like referencing. It's not a good image or source to reference from. So another thing is of course like just learning new stuff. So learning like maybe like how do chefs like dress. Maybe you can watch like someone just working in a kitchen. Or maybe you're not too sure about like medieval armor. You can look up like LARP, LARP players or medieval, what do they call it? They kind of reenactors. Reenactors are like another source you can go to. So yeah, I think even the internet is like so there's so much that you can learn just by being where you are with an internet connection. Like, it doesn't have to be anything related to games. It can just be related, like, it can just be any random thing. Yeah, that's how I usually do it.
First time question asker, long time fan. Ilya, I'm just really curious. Like, I really respect your work and I really appreciate your art, right? But what's on my mind is always how do we elevate the rest of the community who is doing character design here in Malaysia, here in Southeast Asia, in a way that's faster than having a 7-year-long career, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the specifics is which experience have you had in the past that definitively made you a better character designer? Was it client work? Was it staying up late at night just hacking away and honing your craft? Which part of that journey over the past your experience has expedited your ability as a designer?
Okay, that's a great question actually. Um, um, well, one of the ways to do it is client work because there's a set deadline and you really need to you need to know what they want and they have to approve it. If they don't like it, then it's gonna bring more trouble to you. But me and my friends kind of did this exercise recently with drawing where we actually like take a reference photo. So it can just be like, I don't know, this mouse. So we take this mouse as a reference photo and we kind of design a character around it. So an artist I can give you an example of is Reno Tuna. He's really good at like taking random objects like a Listerine bottle and he created a character around that Listerine bottle design. So we did this as a monthly like challenge. That's actually where the first image in my slide was kind of from. I was referencing this like statue that another artist was making, and I was just really I referenced that image as well. That was my main reference, but I was kind of adding like more other things to just make it nicer. So it is partly like grinding and just keep doing a lot of designs because when you're still a beginner, you're not really going to master all of these skills. You'll only like master it when you've done like so many. So it's really partly time based, but also passion based.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any more questions? Okay, man in the orange. Here you go.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Yeah, sure. I
Okay.
mean, we have time, right?
First off, I've been a fan of your work recently because I saw your tweet about like you were the boss designer for Hi-Fi Rush, like the boss that got
Yeah.
cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my first, I guess from there, I wanted to ask, what other characters or concept arts did you work on in that game? Was it like the vibe, or was it like the other characters, or etc.? And the other question is, now that Tango Gameworks is back from the dead, if they contact you for Hi-Fi Rush 2, would you go and take it?
Okay. Okay. So first question was which other characters did I work on in Hi-Fi Rush? So I sort of came in late to the project. There were other designers before me. So one of my first ones was actually Kale and Peppermint's mom. So I was collaborating with another artist. His Twitter name is Zyphon, but he's one of the main like character designers in the game. And we were, I was doing that, and then I was doing Chaser, the Chaser boss that got cut. But I still have like a funny reaction to that moment because it felt so personal to me. And then it was the final boss design for Kale. So Kale had like a metal body under his suit. And actually, we designed the suit first, and the metal body came in later. So I was tasked. It was like one of my first character design jobs too, because I was previously just doing props and environments for other games. And suddenly, I'm asked to do, okay, you're now doing the final boss of this game. Do it. And I didn't really know much about mechanical design. So yeah, he was one of the other, he was like one of the 3 characters I really worked on in that game. Yeah, but I didn't design like his final form. So when he like kind of like his exhaust pipes start coming out. Yeah, and then the next question is would I go back to working on Hi-Fi Rush 2? Yes, I would really love to, but I'm still, waiting to see if there's any openings. I saw that they were at G-Star promoting the game. So it's really nice that they're actually alive, and it's nice to see that, John and the crew are still like happy to promote their game, and they should really like be proud of it.
Okay, nice. Does anyone else have any? Otherwise, I actually have two. Oh, okay. You can go first. I can go last. It's fine. Here you go.
Thank you. Hi. I
Hello.
would like to ask, how long does it take for you to come up with these concepts, right? And also, how long does it take for you to find references?
Okay, that's a great question. So in a client-based pipeline, to be honest, usually a character design could take like up to months, because maybe down the line they might change their minds on it. Usually maybe it's like 1 month minimum, and then the rest. If it's my own personal work, I can just maybe take like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. And then for references, back in the days, I would take like a while to find references because I wasn't too knowledgeable in a lot of things. So I wasn't very precise in my references. Like, I didn't know much. I still had to do a lot of research, so that could take like a day. It could take 2 days. But these days, I'm pretty like I know what I want, so I'm able to like pinpoint. Okay, I need like a butterfly collar on this jacket or something. I don't know, something like that. So it's really something that you will master as you make more. So yeah, I think it's okay to find references while you're doing it. I do that as well, because sometimes I change my mind. So yeah, it really depends. Yeah.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions? No? Okay, I have two for you actually. So the first question I'm going to ask is that now that you've been here in this industry for so long, do you feel that you're more critical when you play more recent games? Do you feel like you are more critical in the sense where that the design of the game, the characters, the models, the sometimes even the background, the environments, are you more critical of these kind of aspects? And then do you think it might affect your enjoyment of the game?
Ooh, that is great as well. Yeah, sort of, because when I'm usually playing a game, or if I'm watching a movie, I'm not the one to like, okay, I'm just gonna enjoy this thing. I'm just gonna enjoy it for what it is. But I'm more of a very like critical person. So if I see a skin I don't like, it's like, okay, I can pinpoint like, okay, this kind of looks weird. I'm not entirely too sure why they decided to make this, and it does kind of, I wouldn't say it ruins like my experiences with anything, but it is definitely like something I always think about. Like I'm hyper analyzing every single detail in anything really. I'm just that kind of person.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I completely understand where you're coming from. So my second question is, in let's say the last 5 years, can you name me your top 5 games that you've enjoyed, mainly because of the concept and art direction?
Ooh, oh my God.
Yeah, it's a pretty personal question, right?
This is very personal.
Yeah.
Damn it! I want to say Hi-Fi Rush, but it's such a,
You have a fan all the way back there.
I know. It's just it really
Love-hate
is good.
relationship?
No, I don't have a love-hate relationship at all. I really enjoy playing it. I really like the art style, the art direction it was
Right.
taking. Another game. I didn't really play this, but the recent Persona series, their like UI design is very good, and their their updates on their character design is very
When
good
you
as
say
well.
recent, do you mean 3 Reload or do you mean 5?
I think 3.
Oh, okay. Was the color theme like black and red, or is it like blue?
You said 5 years, right? So
I mean, yeah,
yeah.
because to be fair, they basically
yeah,
re-released.
they're reusing it, but I feel like they made it like somehow even better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but generally, I mean, I think in all fairness, Persona has never really failed to
Yeah,
throw them.
definitely.
Okay, so I believe that's 2 answers, right? You have like 3 more, maybe just top of mind.
3 more. Top of my mind. Is Overwatch recent?
I mean, that's fine. I think Overwatch has
Overwatch is
pretty
good.
decent design.
Yeah, Overwatch is pretty good. I recently played Supervive. I pretty much enjoyed that game. Yeah, Baldur's Gate is pretty good as well. Like in terms
Oh,
of
yeah.
like realistic design.
Right. Yeah, they never fail to please. Actually, I think all your
Yeah.
games have been pretty good hits. So I think that's all 5. So, or
think
am I missing
so.
one? I think I failed at math, but it's fine. Yeah, that's all from me. Does anyone have anything else? Otherwise, we might have to be closing off this panel. Yeah, I think that's it. I think you're free to go. You're done blocked here. Yeah, thank you. Give a round of applause.
Thank you.